I'm Ron Corning for Howdini.com. Getting out of credit card debt, saving more, investing more, all very popular New Year's resolutions for many of us. But unfortunately, just like those plans to lose 10 pounds, many of these resolutions vanish not too long into the new year. Here to tell us more is Stacey Tisdale. She's a financial journalist and the author of The True Cost of Happiness. Stacey, good to have you here again.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, so let's talk about this. Why are most of us dealing with money problems? Because if you look at the numbers, in some cases, it's not that people are spending too much, they're just mismanaging what they have.
Most people are really unaware of what they're doing when it comes to money. They'll spend money they don't have, like you said. They'll do things like taking on credit card debt without looking at what it's really costing them.
So there are other ways in which they might be able to take the money they have and get more out of it, because if you were to add up on a general basis what you might be spending in credit card fees or credit card interest over the course of the year, it can be pretty stunning.
And purchases, for example, someone might have a goal of living in a certain part of the country, but they're spending so much money on material things like, clothes and shoes, so much more than they have, that their more important goal doesn't have a chance of really happening. So what people need to do are really two things. They need to figure out what they're planning for and see how they can use their money to help them achieve that. And the second thing that they really need to do is see how their current spending is affecting that equation.
We all tend to sort of think short term, living paycheck to paycheck, maybe month to month because that's when the rent or the mortgage is due, maybe month to month because that's when the credit card bills come in. You recommend, though, people think about it in broader terms, a bigger picture. Where do you start with that?
I actually give people 3 questions to think about. The first is, if you had all the money in the world, all the money you would ever need, I'm talking like Aristotle Onassis rich, what would you do with your time? And when you look at this, you really see some of the disconnects between how you would like to be spending your time and how you're spending it now. The second question, I know these don't seem like financial questions, but they really help you get a clear picture of what you're planning for, is if you had just 5 years to live, what would you be doing with your time? What would you be doing differently than you're doing now?
There's sort of an analogy here with dieting. A lot of people want to get physically fit. You don't want to go on a crash diet, because that's not realistic. You're going to end up falling off the wagon. But you want to be financially fit. You want to think about lifestyle changes, and then you want to really assess where you're spending everything, because that might be the wake-up call you need. You say keep a spending diary, much like on a diet you would keep a log of what calories you're taking in.
Absolutely. If you want to really stick to a diet, you're going to have to take a look at some point at why you're overeating in the first place. If you want to really change your spending, you're going to have to do the same thing. So it's a 2-part process. Once you have an idea of what you're planning for, look at how your spending's working into the equations.
And we're not saying here do away with your car. We're not saying here do away with your house or don't live in the neighborhood where the school is that you want your child to go to.
Absolutely.
But if you've got 2 kids, do you need 6 bedrooms?
Right. If you have a bigger goal that you're trying to achieve, like starting your own business, maybe that goal would be better served making a $300 monthly payment on a Honda than a $700 monthly payment on a Lexus. That's $400 that could go towards your goals.
Take that $400 a month and put it into a savings calculator and see over the course of 5 years how much you have in 5 years' time, and think to yourself, boy, that could provide me the financial security I need for the future or allow me to retire early.
Exactly. And not even, think big picture, think about your retirement goals, but also think in terms of your real life right now. This is money that I could be putting towards the things that really do make me happy.
People have a lot to balance, though, because they're thinking on one track about retirement, they're thinking about college education for their kids. And so how do you early on in your life begin to allocate the right amount of money to each of those things?
There's many resources on the internet. There's a chart in my book, The True Cost of Happiness, that shows you certain savings targets you should have by whatever ages, savings and investment targets, to have, say, $30,000 a year in retirement, $40,000 a year in retirement. But again, before you get that, what does your ideal retirement look like? Sit down and think about what a week in my retirement is going to look like. What's it going to cost me? If I want to spend my retirement living in Arizona, why am I paying for this summer house that I stay in twice a year, today in New York? Why, you have to really think about those things.
Specific things that come back again to that first exercise, and that is think about your long-term goals and what money really means to you.
Exactly.
All right, Stacey Tisdale, thank you. The author of The True Cost of Happiness. I'm Ron Corning for Howdini.com.